I was 10 weeks and we were gearing up to coming home on holiday. We were living overseas at the time. A week leading into our trip, the week before, he got injured at footy and ended up in a moon boot. Yeah, and I remember packing our bags, and he told me not to do any heavy lifting and to take things easy. But because he couldn't do anything, time was ticking, and me wanting to get things done, I just did it anyway. And then I started spotting. And then that evening, we went to bed, I coughed and I felt like I peed my pants. And I was too scared and I was worried because I knew he would be upset with me because he had just told me not to do any heavy lifting. And so I remember switching the light on and asking him to just have a look if it's blood. And he was like, oh, your backside's covered in blood. And then I was like, oh, my heart sunk.
And straight away in my head, it just went, it wasn't good. And I saw the blood and like I was really teary and I already knew. And she goes, nah, it's probably, you know, this and that. And but I already knew in my gut, probably lost the baby or something.
Fast forward to the next day, so it was the very next day that we went for the appointment. That was very traumatizing. So the doctor wouldn't allow him and my son to come in because of the germs, because of my toddler. And so he just wouldn't even speak to me, and I kept saying, do you speak English? He was like, no, and telling me in French to speak French. And then I was trying with my minimal French, and I just said, oh, baby, and then I said blood. And then he did an internal ultrasound. And I saw the baby, so then I got excited again because I thought, oh, I am pregnant. And probably minutes, just under 5 minutes, then he was like, oh, yeah. And just shook his head, and I said, oh, what's wrong? Is baby okay? And then he just said, he pointed out the door. So we walked into the waiting room, and he stands up on his crutches, and he goes to him, he goes, is everything okay? And the doctor goes, blah, 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 in French.
I tried my best with my French with the doctor because I didn't know the French terms for, you know, surgery and stuff like that. So I tried my best to understand, but it was just hard.
And then he got frustrated with us, and then he just goes, oh, baby's dead. And then we just both went, what? And then he goes, yeah, baby's dead. So he spoke English after all. Then he said I had to stay back. I had to have surgery straight away. I had to stay back and do blood tests and, yeah, have surgery. It was hard enough to hear that the baby had died, but just the way he treated me was very dramatic. Like, I'm still traumatized every time I talk about it. I just burst out in tears. And so, no translator, was left alone in the hospital. They wheeled me into the theatre, looked at the clock, and then I was out. And then I woke up from the surgery, and all I thought about was my husband and my son. And I just didn't want to be there. I was so lonely. And then I discharged myself before seeing the doctor again. After all of that, I just chose to block it out. And I was like, no, come on, we've got to keep going. We've got a trip in a day. I finally let it out on the plane when he was sleeping and baby was sleeping. And I remember prior to that, he kept saying to me, oh, you're so strong, acting like you hadn't even lost the baby. And I said, well, nothing's going to get done if I'm going to sit here and sulk. He was trying to help, but because I was trying to block it out and trying to stay strong for our little family. So I was kind of acting in some sense. to try and be strong and just carry on.
It was really hard. I'm a strong man, but at that time I couldn't do anything. You know, you want to do something, but I just felt weak.
Yeah, we just had a lot of emotions. It was just between the two of us at the time, the injury and the guilt that we both had, and we never spoke about it. So all up, our holiday was almost 4 weeks, and that was 4 weeks of covering up, masking all those emotions of losing a baby.
Island families, they just keep it in. Because I would never talk like this to my parents. Yeah. It's just hard.
I fell into a depression. I remember binge drinking too, trying to find an excuse to catch up with everyone just to drink my sorrows away. I think I went through a phase of not leaving the house for like 2 weeks straight. He would take my son out and come home, and I just didn't want to be around anyone.
It was hard because I tried to talk to her, you know. Is there anything you want to talk about? Let out. She said, no, it's okay. I can sort it out. You know, I knew she was strong, but I knew she has to let it out. But it was just, at the time in France, it was just hard to talk.
We never really talked about our emotions at the time, like how we both felt and the guilt that we felt, until years later, much later. I remember talking about it and crying to him and telling him how I felt and how everything played out that day. It was very therapeutic, and I think, you know, and it helped us get closer to each other. We know now to just open up more about our feelings, and yeah. He knows when I'm angry, he knows when I'm sad, like I let it out now and I wear my heart on my sleeve.
But it's good to be open, you know, and especially with the situation we were in, it's good to be open and talk to someone. It's not, you know, it's not an embarrassing topic, it's not an embarrassing thing. It's good to open up and talk.